All right. Hello, astrology lovers. Here we are today. Welcome. I am here with astrologer Donna Woodwell, and Donna and I are going to be talking eclipses today. So I just want to welcome all of you that are tuning in right now. Welcome, astrology lovers. My name's Amanda, and we are talking eclipses. So, Donna, I want to ask you a couple questions. First, why are eclipses so important? Why do we care? Why does it matter?
Oh, I am so excited for what's coming up. Eclipses have been one of the most spectacularly watched events in throughout the course of human history. I mean, if you think about it, to be standing and looking up and watching the sun disappear behind the moon, the stars come out in the daytime. How can you can't underestimate what that feels like to a human being when even the animals get quiet. So what it means for us astrologically is tapping into that primal feeling that something is changing, something is transforming, and what that means for us. It's one of the most potent tools of understanding self-transformation in astrology.
Okay, and is it widely known in astrology? Is it talked about? Do people have a deep understanding of it, or is this sort of still a little bit of a mystery for people?
Well, it's been important for thousands of years. I mean, we have chiseled things on rocks that you can find in ancient history and the Egyptians and the Babylonians of how significant these events are and how they're tied up with the change of leaders and the destiny of countries. But for modern astrologers, since eclipses don't happen very often in our lives, it's something that comes around every 6 months of something. And if you really think about it, on our planet, something like 70% is water, and of the land, 10% of a third of that's desert. So rarely do we get to see them. And since they're sort of out of sight, out of mind, they haven't been a big focus of modern astrology, at least the way they have been in history. So when events come up that suggest it's time to pay attention to eclipses, we get excited.
All right. Well, Angelica, hello. I see we have some people joining us here on Facebook Live. We are talking eclipses, and I'm talking eclipses with astrologer Donna Woodwell. She's also our managing editor here at Astrology Hub. So, okay, eclipses, they're important, they're significant. The reason why we're talking about this right now is because in the summer, we have an event that's going to happen, a very major astrological event called the Great American Eclipse. So can you talk to us about the Great American Eclipse and why this eclipse of all eclipses is different and
Oh,
significant for us?
this is going to be amazing. Okay, so the United States, the continental United States, has not seen an eclipse like this in nearly 100 years. I mean, we saw a little bit of one in the late 70s. I remember I was actually in grade school, and they had all the kids standing out, looking outside and watching the feeds, and we kind of had a whole day off of school to be able to watch it. But this one is going to be coming directly overhead on a line that extends from Oregon across to Wyoming and across Kansas and down through Kentucky and Tennessee and all the way out to South Carolina. So everyone in the continental United States will get to see some portion of this eclipse in a profound way, and people on the line will get to see a direct eclipse.
Okay,
So
what's the line? Tell us.
so the line is the place where an eclipse is total. So when you're not on the direct path of the eclipse, but if you think about it, what an eclipse is, it's as the moon passes in front of the sun, that specific point on Earth is in the shadow of the moon. And when you're under it, you can see the shadow come racing at you at like 1,000 miles an hour across the face of the Earth. And for those 3 minutes, when the two are perfectly aligned, the stars are out, you'll be able to see Mars and some of the other planets up there around the sun, and then it races off and the effect dissipates. But it is a once in a lifetime experience for most of us. People who chase eclipses usually have to get in a boat and go out in the middle of the ocean to see one of these. And the fact that it's coming across one of the most populated countries on the planet,
Hmm.
that everyone gets to see, this is an amazing, life-changing experience for the people who get a chance to go out and see it.
Okay, so what's the eclipse line exactly?
The eclipse line is the line of totality.
No, I know,
That
but
is,
which cities? Who's going
oh,
to see this?
which cities? Okay, so it is just outside of Portland, Oregon. It's like near Casper, Wyoming. It's near Kansas City, Missouri, St. Louis, Nashville, Tennessee, all the way out to Charleston, South Carolina.
All right. Okay. So, and we've actually looked into those locations. The hotels are already booking up. It's going to be a big event for
This
those
is
cities.
this is the most watched event that has to do with the skies probably since the moon landing. It's going to be amazing. Everyone's going to be talking about it. People will be getting their little eclipse glasses. There will be eclipse parties so that you can watch it safely. There will be eclipse t-shirts. It will be the entire collective United States getting to see it all together.
Wow, fantastic. Well, thanks for everybody who's joining in. We are actually talking about eclipses right now with astrologer Donna Woodwell. Kristen, I see you. Hello. Give us a like, and just if you have any questions about the eclipse, let us know because we can cover those right now. All right, Donna, so we have the Great American Eclipse coming up in August. It's going to be very exciting. Tell us what this eclipse might mean for us personally. Let's start there first.
So astrologers traditionally have two ways of looking at eclipses. They have methods for understanding the significance of a particular eclipse, and then they have methods for understanding how that particular eclipse affects an individual or a country or anything else that has a chart. So for this particular eclipse, it has a long history of being tied up with the United States. We've had events along the history of the eclipse. Eclipses happen in cycles that develop over about 1,300 years. So the first time we had an eclipse in this cycle was just a few weeks before the first kind of constitution was signed in the United States. So that was the Connecticut State Constitution. And then it was also tied up with the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It happened a few weeks before the assassination of JFK. So it's happening again, right at this pivotal point in American history, a real turning point for us as we deal with our own collective shadow and what that means for us as a nation. Where do we want to go next? The United States is just starting its own Pluto return, which is making us question who we want to be for the next Pluto cycle. It also hits the chart of President Trump. For him, it's conjunct his ascendant, and when an eclipse is conjunct the ascendant of a leader, that's huge. It's involved with the chart of the United States itself. The fact that all of these things are involved with the United States and then it's happening over our heads, the ancients would have considered this as one of those messages from God where it says, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special message kind of moment. So
well, so I'm sure everybody wants to know what kind of a special moment. I think that's the big question. And I want to make sure too that as we're talking about this, I can feel it in myself. I think there is a inclination towards fear, that like, oh, what's going to happen? And I think it's important for us to keep the conversation in, where's the opportunity? What is this bringing up for us? What is it enabling us to explore or new direction to go in? So can you talk to us a little bit?
The brilliance of astrology is that when knowing when things are aligning, no pun intended, that we have the capacity to bring consciousness to the table. That's when you study mundane astrology and how things play out in a public world. It's consciousness that changes the equation. Otherwise, things happen at sort of the lowest common foggy denominator. But when we bring our attention, when we bring our willingness to find the best solutions and to turn and face the shadow, amazing transformation is possible. So with this eclipse, not only is it tied up with the United States, but it's at 28 degrees of Leo. And so we have techniques for understanding the nature of the eclipse, the cycles that it's in, but also how you find 28 degrees of Leo in your own chart. Is it tangling with any of your personal planets? What is the significance of having an eclipse with those particular planets or in that location in your chart? And there are also other ways of using eclipses. There's your prenatal eclipse, the eclipse you were born after personally. We can use what's called the draconic zodiac, where you take the nodes of the moon, that line where eclipses happen in the sky, and use it to actually start a whole new zodiac chart, a way of looking at soul in the context of your chart. So many ways that we can use that a lot of astrologers may not have even heard of before. So I am so excited to dive into all of these different possibilities.
Me too. So it sounds like a lot of different ways to look at this eclipse in particular that's going to be happening in August. For those of you just joining in, we're talking about the Great American Eclipse that's happening August 21st. It is going to be a fully visible solar eclipse for our entire country, which is pretty much unheard of. Actually, it has happened, but when it's happened, it's been a precursor to pretty significant events. And so these events are going to be at a collective level, but then also at our individual level. So there's lots of different ways to explore the chart, your chart, and find out what this eclipse means for you. So, maybe we can talk about that another time, but I know that there's going to be many eager to hear about that. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and write them in the comments. We're happy to address some questions. Donna, you just mentioned that the eclipse is hitting our President Donald Trump's chart at a very significant place. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. President Trump was actually born during a lunar eclipse. So he's an eclipse baby. And to have an eclipse conjuncting your rising degree in your chart, that's a degree that's rising at the moment in time that you were born, is profound. That point is considered the most important point in a chart because it determines how all of the rest of your chart lays out. It's like the tiller of the boat. So to have an eclipse conjunct a major point like that is profound transformation for the person involved. So if he were my client, we would be talking about who are you? What do you think you are? Why are you here? What is your path in life? And because it's calling you to struggle very personally with the sense of shadow and what it means. And so if that was just my client, those kinds of exercises that we would be doing. When it's someone who's running an entire country, guess what? We get to go where the leader's going. And when it gets played out in public on that grand stage.
Wow. I'm just sitting here thinking it'd be so amazing if he has an astrologer on staff. So,
it would be very amazing.
Someone who's coaching him through this.
When people started looking at Trump's chart last year in the summertime and recognized, like, oh my goodness, he's an eclipse baby. Oh my goodness, there's an eclipse next summer. Oh my, that's an eclipse that's conjunct his ascendant. And you never want to predict when you are an astrologer in ways that might change the equation. You don't want to create fear in things, but an awful lot of people are like, well, if the United States has to deal with its shadow and all the stuff about ourselves that we don't want to see, maybe this is the way to set it up to shake people up and create change. It's the perfect match of charts and circumstances, and here we go.
Well, what's amazing is in the last 5-10 years for so many people, personally, it's been about dealing with the shadow, really uncovering lots of aspects of self that need to be looked at. So on an individual level, a lot of us have had some great practice with this, and so we're more equipped to actually handle any sort of collective shadow that might need to be looked at because we've done it in our own lives.
Exactly. And that is the profound gift of opportunities like this, is that you can take all that personal learning and what you've gone through and help hold space for the entire collective now. And it's like the people who got started first, now you're going to be called upon to make the change and help make the change for the collective.
Exactly. All right. So you've talked to me about something really interesting, this idea of the Saros cycles. Can you explain that to the audience? Just what is that, the Saros cycles?
Sure. Okay, so eclipses, and the Babylonians figured this out, thousands of years ago, which is incredibly impressive for the level of their mathematical knowledge. Eclipses they happen in families, and the families evolve over the course of somewhere between 1,200 and 1,400 years. It averages around 1,300 years. And they start at the North Pole or the South Pole, and they kind of wrap around the Earth in a wave. If you Google that, you can find little GIFs that talk about how the eclipses look and unfold. But it's really, they're like evolutionary pulses that move into our planet created by the movement of the sun and the moon, and the fact that they're just a little offset from each other. So these families are one of the ways, these Saros cycles are one of the ways that we interpret the meaning of eclipses. We look at the first one in the family and we get the birth chart for the first one, and we use it to understand, just like we use it to understand the nature of people, the whole family dynamic, and then see how it plays out in specific events. So it's one of the most powerful tools for understanding the underlying meaning of an eclipse. You can look at it through history, or you can look at it with those individual foundational date charts.
Okay, so the Saros cycle for this one is 145, right?
Saros 145, yeah.
Okay, so that's the family that we're traveling in. What is that? What's the theme of the 145 family?
Well, the theme has to do with deep transformation. Yet again, on the eclipse scale, it's how we. It's in two pairs because there's a lunar eclipse 2 weeks before the solar eclipse,
Right.
and the lunar eclipse before really is about looking how to find the bright side of things. How no matter what's happening, you can tune in and spin it in a positive direction. So it's really deep that way, in the sense of understanding that how you view reality creates reality. It's interesting to have that as the lead-in to the eclipse, because since the eclipse is so much about, transformation on the deepest levels, and looking at how we use our creativity to create new worlds, it's like a 1-2 punch that's really calling us to understand what you think is what happens, and think carefully and guide the way you react, because even our emotional reactions, if we come into this eclipse in fear, that's what we're going to create for the next cycle of the United States. And if we come into this eclipse with love and believing that we can create realities, that's what we're going to create for the next cycle of the United States.
Wow.
So
okay.
When Amanda says, bring it, this is what we mean. We're all being called to, you want to be a light worker? Now's your chance.
Wow. Donna, that's incredible. Okay, so this is a huge opportunity for us, and it's going to be, it feels like a little bit of an initiation for us to walk through. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have some questions from the audience. Thanks everybody for joining. It's really fun to connect here on Facebook Live. We haven't done a whole lot of this, but we'd like to do more. If you do enjoy it and you want to hear more from Astrology Hub and our astrologers all about astrology amazingness, just give us a like or a heart or whatever. And that'll help us know if this is helpful for you. Okay, yes, Maja, we did say 145, the Saros cycle. And then Maja wants to know, maybe you can talk about triggers of this eclipse, such as Mars transiting 28 degrees of Taurus, and what we can expect then.
We didn't prepare for all these really complicated dynamics in our little call here.
You might need to do a little research on that.
But yes, eclipses, the degree of the eclipse is a sensitive point. And it's a sensitive point before, but especially after, in the 6 months after the eclipse happens. So we will be having, anytime planets get to 28 degrees of fixed sign, so that is well, obviously Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius. And as things move through there, what's interesting is that those degrees have been emphasized in various charts coming up to this and leading out to this. If you go back to, like, say, the eclipse cycle leading into the assassination of JFK, there were 3 big eclipses before the actual assassination, and they were all triggering one another. So this gets really complicated, and I don't want to get into a lot of astrobabble for this conversation, but yes, as planets, including the moon, because it's going to trigger like on a regular basis, those eclipse degrees, they are sensitive points that help us figure out exactly how the energies of the eclipse will manifest.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Donna, thank you so much. So we are going to be supporting each other throughout this time leading up to this Great American Eclipse in August. If you want to join in on the conversation, we've created a private Facebook group. you can just request access. The name is the Astrology Eclipse Portal. The Astrology Eclipse Portal. So just go in and search for Astrology Eclipse Portal. We will approve you. And this is where we're going to really continue the conversation about eclipses. We can go deep. We can answer questions. But it is a big topic for all of us, obviously, and especially those of us who feel called to being a part of a change, being a part of a shift in this country, in the world, and really creating a new path for ourselves and each other, and one that is founded in love versus fear. So I think this sounds really amazing, and I think that it's going to be an incredible opportunity for all of us. So, and let's support each other, because sounds like we're
going.
What's that?
We're all going.
We're all going. Yeah,
we're all going together.
Exactly.
We have no choice whatsoever, so we're going to find the meaning and the purpose and the light in the experience, and we will all grow from it.
Exactly. All right, so join us in the American Eclipse Portal. The American Eclipse Portal, it's a Facebook group. Just ask for access, and we have our team members who will approve you. It might take 24 hours or so, but we'll get you in there. And let's continue the conversation. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining. Donna, thank you so much for being here. And we'll be talking more eclipses soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.